In 1992, 28-year-old CI analyst Rachel Cole walked out of her office late at night, and then she just vanished. At first, everyone thought maybe she needed space. But days turned into weeks. Her car was gone. Her phone went dead. And every lead the FBI and CIA chased went nowhere. No blood. No witnesses. It was like Rachel had been erased. For 6 years, there wasn't a single clue. Then, in 1998, during construction behind a rundown motel, a worker's shovel hit something solid. It wasn't a rock. It was a car roof. When police dug it up, they realized it was Rachel's missing car. And when they opened the door and saw what was inside, everything about this case changed forever. What they found inside that buried car was so shocking. It finally exposed a secret no one was supposed to know. It is late at night inside CIA headquarters. Most of the building is empty now. In a small office, one light is still on. Rachel Cole, 28 years old, is finishing her work. She looks tired but calm. Papers are stacked around her desk. She types a few last things, then shuts down her computer. She picks up her purse and puts on her coat. She checks her watch. It is almost 10 p.m. On her way out, she passes 2 coworkers. She gives them a small wave. "I'm heading home," she says. The halls are quiet. She takes the elevator down and pushes through the big glass doors. Outside, the parking lot is dark. Most cars are gone. Rachel walks across the pavement to her small Honda. She unlocks the door, throws her bag on the seat, and starts the engine. She doesn't know this will be the last time anyone at the CIA ever sees her alive. Rachel's Honda pulls out of the CIA parking lot. The headlights shine on the empty road. She drives through the quiet Virginia streets toward home. Traffic cameras catch her car on a main road at 10:15 p.m. In the blurry footage, she looks normal. Nothing seems wrong. After that, the car disappears. No more cameras. No witnesses. It is as if she has been erased. Her fiancé is waiting at home. He checks the clock. She is late, but that sometimes happens with work. He waits a little longer. Midnight comes. She still isn't home. The next morning, Rachel's fiancé calls her phone. No answer. He leaves a message, trying to sound calm. By lunch, he is worried. By the end of the workday, he is scared. He calls her parents. No one has heard from her. At 7 p.m., he calls the police. He explains that Rachel works for the CIA, that she is never late, and that she has been missing for almost 24 hours. Police take the report. They tell him to wait. Maybe she just needed a break, but he knows something is wrong. Rachel never disappears. Without telling anyone, detectives go to Rachel's apartment. They unlock the door and step inside. The place is neat. Nothing is broken. No signs of fight. Her bed is made. Her phone is not there. Her purse, her work ID, and her laptop are all gone. Detectives search every room. It looks like Rachel simply walked out one night and never came back. They question neighbors. No one saw her come home. No one saw her leave. It is as if she walked off the planet. Police write in their notes. No forced entry. No clues. No Rachel. Back at the station, detectives sit around a table and argue about what this could mean. Some think maybe Rachel just wanted to get away. People quit their jobs and disappear all the time, but her parents and fiancé tell them no. Rachel loved her job. She was days away from setting a date for her wedding. She had just signed a lease on a new apartment. She wouldn't do this, her mother says through tears. She is missing because something happened to her. Detectives listen, but they need proof. They write on the board, "Voluntary disappearance?" The family shakes their heads. To them, it is not even possible. The case now feels bigger. Something is very wrong. and everyone in that room knows it. The next day, the news breaks. CIA analyst missing. The headline says. Soon, reporters crowd outside her apartment. Camera trucks line the streets. Neighbors stand outside just to watch. Every CANNEL talks about it. A smart young woman who worked with secrets has suddenly disappeared. People wonder if spies are involved. They wonder if she found out something she shouldn't have done at work. Her office becomes a target. Crowds gather outside the CIA gates. They shout questions that no one answers. Rachel's picture is everywhere now. Her smile is frozen on the screen, while nobody knows where she is. After 2 days, the CI steps in. This is no longer just a missing person case. Agents join the search. They look through her emails, her phone records, even her classified work. The FBI also gets involved. Both agencies start talking to everyone she knew. Her coworkers are interviewed for hours. Friends are asked if she was scared. Her fiancé is questioned again and again. The pressure grows. Detectives and agents now work together, trying to find any lead that makes sense. But every answer only brings more questions. Where did she go? Why? And who would want to harm her? Weeks go by. Detectives chase every single tip, but each one ends the same way with nothing. There is no sign of her car. No sign of her body. Not even a small clue left behind. Search teams check highways, rivers, and woods. Helicopters fly overhead. Dogs sniff fields. It feels like they are looking for a ghost. Her fiancé waits by the phone every night. Her parents hold on to hope, but the pain grows heavier. At one point, a detective stands in front of the board covered with pictures and maps. He stares for a long time. Everything they know about her is right there, but it leads nowhere. It's as if Rachel walked out of the parking lot that night and disappeared into thin air. The act closes with silence, confusion, and fear that this case will never be solved. Inside a small room, FBI agents and CIA officers sit around a table. On the wall behind them are maps, pictures, and a big timeline. They are trying to rebuild the last hours of Rachel Cole. They know she left work at 10 p.m. She drove away in her Honda. That is all they know for sure. Agents call her friends, her coworkers, even people who work in the same building. Everyone gives the same story. She was fine. Nothing was wrong. They follow every step she took that day. What she ate for lunch. What route she usually took home. They try to find one moment where something changed. But there is nothing. It feels like she just left work, and the earth opened up and swallowed her. Still, they refuse to give up. Every tiny clue, no matter how small, goes on that wall. Somewhere in all those notes is an answer. One agent studies traffic camera footage. At 10:15 p.m., Rachel's car shows up on a city camera. She is heading away from downtown. The next camera on that same road should show her a few minutes later. But it doesn't. The next camera? Nothing. The next? Nothing. Her car is gone. It is as if someone lifted it right off the road. They search every camera in the area. Nothing. The road just ends for her. This is the moment when the wide off the road. They search every camera in the area. Nothing. The road just ends for her. This is the moment when the FBI realizes this is not normal. This is not a random disappearance. Someone made her disappear. 1 week after Rachel vanishes, her parents get a phone call late at night. A man's voice says, "She's safe." Then he hangs up. They call the police right away. The call is traced, but it leads to a payphone that no one was watching. For a few hours, there is hope. Was Rachel alive? Was she hiding? But the call turns out to be a dead end. It gives no answers, only more pain. Her parents start to wonder if someone is playing a cruel game. 2 weeks later, a man comes forward. He says he saw a woman at a small gas station late that night. He swears it was Rachel. She was alone, looking scared, filling her car with gas. He says he will never forget her face. But when investigators checked the gas station, the cameras there were broken. No video. No pictures. They searched for anyone else who might have seen her. No one did. The man's story gives a small piece of hope, but also more confusion. If it was Rachel, where did she go after that? After the gas station lead goes cold, the search explodes into the largest effort the area has seen in years. Teams spread out across highways, checking every exit ramp and every ditch. Helicopters sweep the woods with bright spotlights at night. Boats drag the rivers for signs of her car. Dogs are brought in to smell the ground. Every day for weeks, they search. But no matter how many people join in, there is nothing. Not a tire mark. Not a single clue. It is as if Rachel never left that parking lot. Agents mark off maps and move to new areas. Day after day, it is the same thing. One detective says out loud what everyone is thinking. We are searching for a ghost. And for the first time, even the toughest officers start to wonder if she will ever be found. As the weeks turn into months, a different kind of storm starts. Rumors. People whisper that maybe she was a spy. Some say she had a secret lover. Others think she ran away to start a new life. The more time passes, the wilder the stories get. Talk shows and newspapers keep guessing, filling in gaps with things that are not true. But the people who knew Rachel best say all of these stories are wrong. She wasn't that kind of person. The rumors hurt the family almost as much as the not knowing. Because now, instead of people helping, everyone just talks. Rachel's fiancé becomes the main focus for investigators. They question him over and over again. Every detail of his life is pulled apart. At first, he answers everything. But as the months pass, he starts to break. He stops going to work. He loses his job. He barely eats. His home fills with papers, maps, and notes. He spends every day trying to find Rachel on his own. Friends visit less and less. He barely talks to anyone anymore. By the end of the year, he is alone. The man who once planned to marry Rachel is now a shell of who he was. Rachel's parents refuse to let the story fade. Every month they hold a press conference. They stand in front of microphones begging for any new tip. They hang up posters. They talk to reporters. They call police almost every day. We will not stop until we know what happened, her father says on live TV. Even when people stop paying attention, the family keeps going. For them, this is not just a story. This is their daughter, and even as hope starts to fade, they promise to never let her become just another cold case. By 1994, 2 long years have passed since Rachel disappeared. At the FBI office, the giant, bored with all the pictures and maps, comes down. Boxes are filled with her files and carried into a storage room. What was once the most urgent case is now just another cold case. The phones have stopped ringing. No one calls in new tips anymore. Rachel's face slowly disappears from the TV. New stories take over the news. Only a small picture on a missing poster still hangs on one bulletin board, yellowed by time. For her family, every single day still hurts. But for the rest of the world, life moves on. Detectives are moved to other jobs. The team that worked so hard to find her is now working on new cases. It feels like Rachel has been erased. Every year, on the night Rachel went missing, her parents go to the CIA gates. They stand in the cold holding candles. In the first year, hundreds of people came. They prayed, held signs, and begged for answers. In the second year, the crowd was smaller. Fewer people remembered. Reporters did not even show up. By the third year, there are only a few close family members. They hold candles that flicker in the dark. Her mother whispers Rachel's name. Her father stares at the CIA building. hoping someone inside knows the truth. Each year, the crowd gets smaller. But her parents still show up. They promise themselves they will never stop coming, no matter what. Friends who once searched every day now have new lives. Some have moved to other cities. Many have gotten married and had kids. But for Rachel's family, time stands still. Her picture is still on the refrigerator. Her room looks exactly the way it did the day she left. Every birthday comes and goes. Every holiday feels empty. Sometimes her friends come by to visit. They sit in the kitchen and talk about how Rachel would have loved to see their babies or meet their husbands. Her mother listens and smiles politely, but deep inside, she feels the pain grow worse. The world keeps moving forward. But for the people who loved Rachel, it's like 1992 never ended. The years keep adding up, and by the fourth year without Rachel, something changes inside the family. Her father still believes she is alive somewhere. He spends every evening looking through old notes, hoping he missed something. But one night, Rachel's mother sits quietly at the kitchen table. Her hands shake as she stares at her daughter's photo. Through tears, she says, "Maybe she isn't coming back. Maybe we have to let go." Her father looks at her in shock. He shakes his head and says, "No, I can't." For him, hope is the only thing keeping him alive. But for her, hope has started to turn into pain. This is the first time Rachel's parents are no longer standing in the same place. By now, the investigation has almost stopped. The detectives who spent months chasing leads are moved to other cases. The boxes with all of Rachel's files are pushed into a back corner of the office. There are no new witnesses to talk to. Every number has been called. Every road has been searched. It feels like the case is sinking into a hole that no one can pull it out of. Only a very small group of CIA agents still cares. They work quietly in the background. They know Rachel was one of their own, and they can't forget her. But even for them, after 4 years, the trail is cold. Every once in a while, a small tip comes in. They check it out, and it always leads nowhere. The case isn't closed, but it is barely alive. By 1998, it has been 6 long years. For Rachel's family, the days all feel the same. Every morning they wake up hoping that today will be the day. Someone calls. Every night they go to bed with nothing. The big board at the police station is gone. Rachel's name is now just another file in a metal cabinet, covered in dust. At family gatherings, people stop talking about her. It hurts too. Much. Even her closest friends no longer know what to say. Her father still holds on to hope, but even that is weaker now. He walks by her room and doesn't open the door anymore. Rachel's mother no longer leaves candles at the CIA gate. She just sits in her living room, staring out the window, waiting for something that never happens. By the summer of 1998, the world has moved on completely. No new tips come in. No sightings. No cameras find anything. Even the family changes. They still love her, but after 6 years, they no longer run to the phone every time it rings. The phone has been silent for too long. The people who used to care have all stopped calling. News reporters don't ask for interviews anymore. Rachel's picture no longer shows up on TV. It's like the case never existed. Her father still looks at her picture every night before going to bed. But deep inside, even he knows that the rest of the world has forgotten Rachel Cole. It is the summer of 1998. A small, old motel sits just outside Richmond, Virginia. The paint on the walls is faded. The parking lot has cracks running through it. On this morning, the motel is noisy because work crews have arrived. The owner has finally decided to fix up the place. Machines roll in. Trucks unload piles of wood, pipes, and cement. Most of the workers are behind the building. They are clearing the land to make room for a new storage area. To everyone, This is just another boring workday. But none of them know what is buried deep under that dirt dot by the end of the day. This motel will no longer be a normal place. It will become the center of a mystery that has been waiting 6 years to be found. Behind the motel, bulldozers move back and forth. They dig into the dry ground, lifting up huge piles of dirt. It is hot, and the smell of earth fills the air. One worker uses a shovel in a tight corner where the big machines cannot reach. He is tired and moving slow. Every few minutes, he leans on the handle and wipes the sweat from his face. The dirt here is harder than he expected. He pushes the shovel in and pulls out chunks of clay. He thinks about how many more feet he needs to dig before he can stop. The work is quiet. Just the sound of shovels, engines, and voices in the distance. Then, as he pushes the shovel in again, he feels it hit something solid. It makes a sharp metallic sound that does not belong in the dirt. The worker stops. At first, he thinks it is just a piece of junk, maybe an old pipe or a buried trash can. He kneels down and clears some of the dirt with his hands. The shiny surface underneath looks bigger than he thought. He hits it again with the shovel. The sound is not like a pipe. It is deep, hollow, heavy. He calls out to another worker. Soon, 3 men are on their knees pulling dirt away as more of the surface appears. It starts to look like a roof. Not a small piece of metal. This is part of something big. One man says, "I think this is a car." The others stop and look at him. A buried car? They dig faster, pulling away dirt with their hands. Slowly, the shape becomes clear. This is not trash. This is a whole vehicle, hidden under the ground for years. The foreman sees it and makes one call to the police. Police cars arrive fast. The first officers step out and see the workers crouched over a deep hole. The dirt around them is scattered, like someone has been clawing at the ground. The officers kneel and look closer. Through the thin layer of soil, a dark, curved shape is now visible. It isn't scrap metal. It is a roof. They shine a flashlight over the surface, brushing more. Soil away with gloved hands. The shape gets clearer. The roof of a compact car. It is completely buried, like someone wanted it to disappear. The officers exchange a look. 6 years of silence, and now, here it is. Within minutes, the whole place changes. This is no longer a construction site. It's a crime scene. Everything stops. Engines go silent. Workers are told to leave the area. Yellow tape goes up around the site. Detectives arrive and begin walking slowly around the dirt, looking at every angle. The hole is now a point of focus. Nobody speaks loudly. The only sound is the clicking of cameras as evidence photos are taken. Detectives talk to the foreman and then to the worker who found the metal. Every small detail matters. Meanwhile, crime scene techs bring in tools to carefully dig the rest of the soil around the buried car. No one knows what is inside. Could this be stolen property? Could it be connected to a crime? There is only one way to find out. The lead. Detective calls for a tow truck to get ready. The tow truck rolls into the back lot. Its engine hums as the heavy steel chains rattle. The crew attaches the chains to the car's frame. Dirt falls away as they pull, revealing more of the vehicle. Slowly, the truck begins to drag. The buried car groans as the chains tighten. The ground shakes slightly. The car doesn't come out at first. It has been packed under the dirt for years. The driver of the truck revs the engine and pulls harder. With a loud crack, the earth finally lets go. The car rises, covered in mud and rust. It looks crushed from the weight of the soil but still whole. Detectives step closer, their faces tense. They scrape mud off the license plate trying to read the numbers. For 6 years, Rachel Cole's name has been nothing but a file. Now, standing here, detectives have the feeling this is the break they have been waiting for. One of the detectives kneels in front of the car's back bumper and wipes away the thick layer of mud with his glove. Slowly, the numbers and letters on the license plate begin to show. Another swipe, and the plate is clear. For a few seconds, no one says a word. The detective leans back and stares. The plate matches exactly. This is Rachel Cole's Honda. A chill goes through the crowd. This car has been gone for 6 years, and now it has been pulled out of the ground like a time capsule. Every officer knows this is no longer a missing person search. This is a crime scene, and the answers they have been chasing might be locked. Inside this vehicle, they stand back while the crime scene techs step forward. It's time to open the doors. The techs force a tool between the door and the crushed frame. With a loud crack, the door finally opens. Everyone leans forward, expecting an empty car. Instead, there is a skeleton in the driver's seat. It is still buckled in, as if the person inside never had a chance to get away. The room goes silent. The skull is tilted to the left, and the clothes, now rotten, hang from thin bones. Even after all these years, there is no doubt this is a body. Then someone points to the passenger seat. There is something there, something wrapped tightly in layers of plastic. No one speaks as they stare at the strange package. The detective raises a hand and says, "Don't touch it yet. Bag it. We need to know what's in there. But we do this by the book." Inside this car, after 6 long years, the truth has finally started to show. The car is taken away to a secure lab. For days, experts carefully go through everything inside. The bones from the driver's seat are moved with care. Each piece is checked, cleaned, and measured. Dental records are pulled out from a folder that has been sitting untouched for years. A forensic expert leans over the table and compares the teeth. From the skull to the records dot, it is a perfect match. The call is made to the detectives waiting outside. "It's her," the expert says. "It's Rachel Cole." After 6 long years, the search is finally over. The missing CIA analyst who vanished without a trace has been found. Detectives write the words, "Rachel Cole, deceased," on the board. For her family, the answer they feared the most has come true. She didn't run away. She didn't start a new life. Rachel never made it out of that night. Investigators begin a closer inspection of the car. On the driver's side door, they see holes. At first, it looks like the metal just rusted through. But when they clean the area, they see the truth. These are bullet holes. The pattern shows someone fired from close range. The bullets went through the door and into the car. One of those bullets must have hit Rachel before the car was buried. This is no accident. This is murder. Detectives circle the holes with a marker. Pictures are taken. The car is now the most important piece of evidence in this entire case. For the first time in years, they know exactly what happened on that night. Rachel was attacked. Experts study the soil around the car. They say the dirt packed inside is very old. It hasn't been moved in years. By looking at the way the soil settled, they can tell when the car was buried. It happened in 1992, just days after Rachel disappeared. Whoever did this had a plan. They didn't just hide the car. They made sure it would never be found. The car stayed underground for 6 full years. Only a construction project in 1998 finally brought it back. The detectives now know the truth. Rachel never had a chance. She was shot, placed in her own car, and buried like garbage. For everyone who searched for so long, this discovery changes everything. While detectives are still studying the car doors, one of the crime scene techs moves to the back. The trunk has been crushed by 6 years of dirt. They pry it open slowly, making sure nothing inside gets damaged. As the lid creaks up, a flash of metal appears under a layer of mud. It's a locked briefcase. They lift it out and carry it to a table under a bright lamp. With gloves on, an agent snaps the lock open. Inside, there are stacks of folders stamped with bold red letters. Classified. These are CIA papers. They are the same files Rachel had been working on the night she disappeared. Every detective in the room stops talking. If she still had these papers with her, then whatever happened that night is tied to her work. This is no random crime. After days of examining the car and the evidence, detectives begin to piece together a theory. Someone followed Rachel after she left work. On a dark stretch of road, they forced her car off to the side. She was trapped. They opened fire through the driver's door, hitting her before she could even run. Then, they moved fast. They drove her car to a quiet, hidden spot behind the motel. They buried the car so deep that no one would ever see it. But the big question won't go away. Why? Nothing inside the car was stolen. Her person ID were still there. So why kill her? Detectives keep looking at those classified CIA folders. Something inside those files was important enough to murder over. Rachel's death was not a robbery. It was a message. Detectives move straight from the muddy crime scene to the motel office. The man who owns the place looks nervous as he sits behind a worn-out desk. He says right away, "I had nothing to do with this." He explains that he only bought the motel in 1993, a full year after Rachel vanished. When he bought it, the land behind the building was already packed hard with dirt and weeds. He never touched it. For 5 years, he has run this place without ever knowing there was a car buried a few feet from the back wall. He leans forward and says, "If I knew something like that was here, I would have called you." Detectives take notes, but they also know he's telling the truth. The buried car had been there long before this man arrived. Someone else is responsible. The motel owner's words push detectives in a new direction. If he didn't bury the car, then who did? They go back to the records from 1992, the exact year Rachel disappeared. Inside an old county office, they find files with yellow pages and faded ink. These files show who owned the motel and the land back then. The name on the documents is different. It belongs to a man who sold the place in late 1992, just months after Rachel vanished. Detectives circle the name and start digging deeper. They search tax records, business papers, and phone numbers. They pull every file on this man's life, dot at the same time. They request a list of everyone who worked at that motel during that year. One by one, they plan to find out where these people are now. Detectives know this is the first real lead they have had in years. If the killer buried the car behind this motel, someone from that time knows why. And with Rachel's CIA folders now in evidence, one more question rises to the surface. Could this old motel, this land, and its 1992 owner be tied to the secrets she was working on? Detectives finally find the man who managed the motel back in 1992. He now lives in a small house in another state. When they knock on his door, he looks surprised but lets them in. Inside, they sit at his kitchen table. At first, he says he barely remembers that year. But when they mention a car buried behind the motel, his eyes change. He takes a slow breath and says, "There was one night. Cold night. I'll never forget it." He explains that a man came to him late after dark. This man had cash and said he needed to dig a hole behind the motel. He said it was for some kind of pipe work. The manager thought it was odd, but agreed, as long as the work was done fast. That night, the man dug alone. By morning, the ground was packed down again, and the man was gone. Detectives ask him to describe the man. The manager closes his eyes, thinking hard. He was calm, he says. Too calm. Everything he did was neat, like he planned every step. He remembers that the man was wearing a clean suit, even though it was freezing and muddy outside. He had short hair, no beard, and spoke politely. The strange part? He never gave a name. When the manager asked why the work had to be done so late, the man just smiled and said, "I need it finished before morning." He paid in cash. Big bills. And when the work was done, he didn't even ask for a receipt. He left before the sun came up, the manager says. And I never saw him again. Not once. Detectives write every word down. Now they have something real, a face in someone's memory. Back in headquarters, detectives sit with a sketch artist. The motel manager describes the man in full detail. Within hours, the drawing is ready. They compare the sketch with old employee photos from the CIA. The search takes days. Finally, one picture makes everyone stop. It looks almost exactly like the drawing. The man in the photo is a CIA analyst. He worked on the same floor as Rachel. He had access to the same files. Detectives dig into his background. In 1992, just after Rachel disappeared, he suddenly quit his job and left Washington, D.C. For years, he lived quietly under a different name. Detectives realize this is no random person. This is someone who worked beside Rachel, knew what she was working on, and had the training to make her disappear. After 6 long years, they finally have a suspect. Detectives sit in a conference room late at night. On the table are old files. New photos of the car, the sketch, and a giant map of the city from 1992. Step by step, they start to put the story together. The evidence shows that the man left work just minutes after Rachel. He followed her car for miles, waiting for a dark stretch of road where there were no cameras. On that empty road, he forced her off to the side. Marks on the car frame show the hit from behind. As she slowed down, he pulled up next to her and fired through the door. The bullets left holes that matched perfectly with the damage found on her Honda. After she was hit, he slid into her car, pushed her over, and drove straight to the rundown motel he knew would be empty at night. There, under cover of darkness, he dug a hole, buried the car, and left before anyone noticed. By morning, the ground was smooth. Her car, her body, and all the evidence had vanished until the construction crew uncovered it 6 years later. The final piece comes when detectives open those CIA folders. Inside, they find documents showing Rachel was reviewing a sensitive report. The report exposed a leak inside the agency as they study old phone records and computer logs. Everything points back to the same man. Rachel had discovered he was selling classified information to a foreign contact. She was preparing to report him. Detectives believe he figured it out. He knew that if she told her bosses, his career and his freedom would be over. So, on that night in 1992, he decided to stop her before she could speak. This was never random. It was a calculated move to keep a dark secret hidden. He killed Rachel to protect himself. For 6 years, he lived quietly, believing the buried car would stay lost forever. Now, the evidence is clear. This was a murder carried out by someone she once worked beside and trusted. The secret he tried to bury has finally been pulled back into the light. Detectives know they now have their man. They go deeper into his past, pulling financial records from the months after Rachel vanished. The pattern is clear. Just 3 months after her disappearance, he quietly resigned from the CIA. He took out all of his savings, closed every account, and booked a one-way flight overseas. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. Travel documents show that he moved from country to country, never staying long. He used false names and paid for everything in cash. While Rachel's family spent years searching, he was building a new life thousands of miles away, pretending none of it had ever happened. 6 years later, he is living in a small town under a new identity. But even there, he can't erase the past. The buried car, the bullets, and those classified files have finally caught up to him. For the first time in years, Investigators know exactly where he is. The FBI and CIA work together to plan the arrest. This time, there will be no warning and no chance for him to escape. Agents fly overseas quietly. They watch his house for days, learning his routine. He shops at the same market every week. He walks the same streets at the same time. On the day of the operation, unmarked cars surround the area. He has no idea they are coming. As he steps out of a small grocery store carrying a bag of food, 2 agents block his path. Another car slides in from the street, and more agents step out. In seconds, he is surrounded. There is no struggle. He freezes, staring at the badges. He knows exactly why they are here. For 6 years, he thought the truth was buried. Now, with guns pointed at him and handcuffs closing around his wrists, there is nowhere left to run. Agents dig into every record they can find. Bank papers, travel forms, old IDs. Finally, they find what they have been looking for. The man who buried Rachel's car is living overseas in a small, quiet city. A team flies there without telling anyone. They work from a safe house and watch him every day. For weeks, they study him. They see him leave his house in the morning, walk to the same little market, drink coffee at the same table. He lives like a normal man. But the agents know what he did. They take pictures, write down times, and wait. They want him outside, away from people. At night, they meet to plan. Maps are spread across a table. They circle the place where they will make their move. After 6 years, this man thinks he is safe. But he has no idea that the same people he betrayed have been watching his every step. The order is given. Tomorrow, they will end the hunt that began the night Rachel disappeared. The next morning, the street is calm. The man leaves his house carrying a small bag. 2 cars roll in from opposite directions. In seconds, he is surrounded. Agents step out fast, badges raised. Stop, don't move. One of them shouts. He freezes. For a moment, he just stares at them like he can't believe what he's seeing. Then, one agent grabs his arm and forces it behind his back. Cold handcuffs snap shut. People on the sidewalk stop and watch. The man tries to talk, but the agent's saying nothing. He knows exactly why this is happening. For 6 years, he lived free while Rachel's family suffered. Now, in less than a minute, his freedom is over. He is pushed into the back of a black car. The door slams. The cars drive away. The man sits alone in a small room. There is a table, 2 chairs, and nothing else. For hours, he says nothing. Then the door opens. Detectives come in and lay out photos. The buried car, the bullets, the classified files, and Rachel's face. They speak calmly. You followed her. That night, you killed her because she found out about you. He shakes his head at first, but they keep talking. They tell him they know everything. Finally, after hours, his shoulders drop. He whispers, "I did it." The room goes silent. Then he says, louder this time, "I shot her. I buried the car. She was going to report me. I couldn't let that happen." Every word is written down. The truth that stayed hidden for 6 years is now on paper. He signs the statement. The long hunt for Rachel's killer is finally over. After the confession, the case moves fast. Months later, the trial begins. On the first day, the courtroom is so full that people stand in the hallway. Rachel's parents sit in the front row. Her fiancé, now older, but still wearing the same ring, sits beside them. They listen to every single word. The prosecutor shows the jury the photos, the car buried behind the motel, the bullet holes, the files in the trunk. He explains how the man followed Rachel after work, forced her off the road, shot her, and buried everything. Every detail of that night is told. Step by step, the plan is laid out. The jury hears about how he covered his tracks and left the country. Rachel's mother covers her mouth as the final moments are described. Her father keeps his eyes fixed on the man who did it. The killer sits there, staring down at the table. For the first time in 6 years, the whole story is told out loud. And everyone now knows exactly how Rachel's life was taken away. After days of testimony, the jury does not take long. They return with one decision: guilty. The judge looks at the man who took Rachel's life. In a firm voice, he says the crime was cold and calculated. He says the murder was done to silence her and hide a betrayal. The judge's voice never shakes. You buried the truth, he says, but you did not bury it forever. Then he gives the sentence: life in prison, without parole. There will be no second chance, no release. Rachel's parents hold each other as the sentence is read. Her fiancé closes his eyes. For 6 years, they waited to hear these words. The man is led out of the courtroom in chains. He never looks back. The family finally knows that Rachel's killer will never hurt anyone again. After the trial, Rachel's family visits her grave. They bring flowers and a photo of her smiling at her CIA desk. Her mother kneels and whispers, "We finally know what happened." That's all we wanted. The father places a hand on the stone. There is no joy, just a heavy silence. But the questions that haunted them for years are gone. The camera pulls back slowly as they stand there, holding each other. In the end, a shovel in the dirt gave them the truth that no one else could find. If that car had stayed buried, they never would have known. Months after the trial ends, the cemetery is quiet. A slow wind moves through the trees as Rachel's family walks down the narrow path to her grave. In their hands are flowers, old photographs, and a folded flag that was given to them after the court ruled on her case. Her father kneels first. He brushes away the leaves around the stone and sets a picture of Rachel from the day she graduated CIA training. Her fiancé places a small bunch of white roses on top of the grave. He stands there, silent, looking down. For the first time in years, there are no questions left. They know exactly what happened. They know who did it, and they know why. It does not make the pain smaller, but it finally gives them something they never had before: an answer. For her parents, the worst part was not knowing. Now, standing at the grave, they can finally speak to her. One by one, they say the things they kept inside for 6 long years. As the family stands together, her mother leans forward. She touches the cold stone and whispers, "We finally know what happened." That's all we wanted. Her voice breaks as she says it. Her father puts his arm around her shoulders. The fiancé stands quietly beside them. There is no celebration. There is only a heavy calm. Rachel is gone, but the truth is no longer buried. The camera slowly pulls back from the family. A voiceover begins. 6 years. 6 years, this car stayed hidden under the ground. And if not for one worker's shovel hitting that roof, the truth would still be there, in the dirt, buried, forgotten. Instead, the car came out, and with it, every secret that night tried to hide. The frame freezes on the picture of Rachel, smiling in her CIA uniform. Then it fades to black.